All right, welcome. I'm going to look at pricing your embroidery for profit, or pricing your embroidery and making sure that you make some profit from it. On the right-hand side of your screen, you should have a section which you can put questions in. And you're more than welcome to leave me a question. I'll address the questions as we go about it. On the screen in front of you, you can, this is my desktop. And I've got two softwares installed on this computer. The one is Stitch for Profit, and it's this one here, Stitch for Profit, and the other one is Enterprise for Profit at the top. Both of them are fairly similar with a small change, and we'll discuss that as well. So it all depends who is the client that will look at this. So let's go and start off with your embroidery business or your sewing and crafting business, and we're going to open the Stitch for Profit. Right, Stitch for Profit, when it opens up, you'll see that we have calculations at the top. We can keep records of our clients. We can keep records of our services. We can create invoices for our clients, generate reports. We can change our templates, and we can go and do certain settings. Now, first of all, let's start off from the left, and that is calculations. And although there is different calculation rates there already, let's go and create a brand new rate for your business. We're going to start off with clicking on New. And when it opens up, we have three columns that we're going to work with. The first column has got to do with hours. So how many hours are you going to work? What's the number of days a week that you're going to work? No, it's hours per day, days per week, weeks per month, months per year, and then it will give us our annual man hours that we will work either in a specific project or at a specific project or in overall. So we're going to start off with, let's say we're going to run a 5-hour day, five days a week, and 3 weeks in a month, and 11 months in a year. By just adding that information there, immediately it comes back and it gives me the answer to say that we have 825 sellable hours if we are going to work 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, 3 weeks in a month, 11 months in a year. Now, based on that information that I've got on the right-hand side, I'm going to go over now to the financials. And the first thing I want to do is I want to go and show you something in the middle, which is capital goods. But to be able to do that, I'm going to start off from the top with adding a 0 in salaries, 0 estimate cost, estimate direct cost, current annual overhead 0, annual profit 0, and then we're going to go to capital cost. Now, capital cost in this case is, depending on what business you have, it'll either be a embroidery machine, it'll be a quilting machine. If you're in the dressmaking industry, it'll be a dressmaking machine. So any one of those items will be the capital cost. So I'm working from South African base. I'm going to convert from rand back to dollars, working on a 1 to 10. It's a little bit more, but it makes it a lot easier. So let's say I'm going to go and buy a industrial embroidery machine or a big quilting machine, 15,600. That is in dollars. So $15,600. That is my machine cost that I've got. So my capital cost that I have for that specific machine, based on the number of hours that I will use that machine for a year, means my hourly rate on that machine is $18.91 per hour. All right, I want to say that again. I want to stress this so that you understand exactly where I'm coming from. Based on the number of hours that we said, 5 hours a day, 5 days in a week, 3 weeks in a month, 11 months in a year, the 825 man hours or sellable hours that we have. If I take my capital cost, which is the purchase price for the machine, that machine can be an industrial embroidery machine. It can be a domestic embroidery machine. It can be an industrial quilting machine. It can be a domestic quilting machine. It can be domestic sewing machines. Any capital outlay that you've done. I'm just thinking off the top of my head now, we have these machines that print on clothing as well. Same thing, same rule will apply. So what I'm doing at this stage, I'm not getting back to per garment yet. I'm just looking at the average rate that I should charge just to cover my capital cost. So I should not make less than $18.91 per hour just to cover my capital cost on my investment. If I then from there take this as an embroidery machine, I can go over to the right-hand side to rates and say, all right, based on rates, I can go, and it all depends on what the machine is listed. So if you've got one of the Malcos, you'll go and look at 1,500 stitches per minute. You will then see that your price per 1,000 stitches, this is cost. This is not selling yet. This is cost. Your cost per 1,000 stitches is 14 American cents per 1,000 stitches. So if that is a Malco machine that you have, your capital cost per 1,000 stitches is 14 cents. Your digitizing rate, based on this information that we have here, is $2.65 per 1,000 stitches. Right, let's go and have a look now. Again, let me just re-emphasize that if you have any question or anything on it, you should have a question bar or a communication bar on the right-hand side of your screen. You're more than welcome to leave me a question and I will address it as we go along. Right, so let's go back now. Let's go and look at the rest of the stuff. I've got my capital outlay that's included. So I've listed what my cost was for my product. Let's go and say I invested 25,000. And by changing 20 to 25,000, it immediately changes my costing for me for my digitizing rate as well as my embroidery. The digitizing rate, I must stress at this stage, there is a market norm all over the world in different countries of what is an acceptable digitizing rate. So please try and stay as close as possible to that. But the program will calculate it for you as well, or the software will calculate it for you. Just make sure that you're within the limits. The embroidery rate per 1,000 stitches is the one that's more important than the digitizing rate. So I'm going to take it back to 15,000. Now we're going to start off from the top. If I look at what's happening in the States, the average salary for a person in the States is something like $40,000 per year. That's what I've picked up from this site. So if your average salary, $40,000 per year, I've added that. My embroidery rate has gone up. Direct cost is your thread, stitches, tearaway, water-soluble, needles, and all that. That is the information that we have there on direct cost. I normally base it roughly converted back at about $200 per month. So $2,400. That will be the estimate cost. This is not cast in concrete, so you can at any point in time in the future go and change figures if you have information, but I need stuff filed somewhere. But if you start with the software and you work through with the software, you can at any point in time go back and update that for you. Okay, so that's what we've got there. Current overheads will be your service of your equipment, plus the extra bits and pieces that you have, like telephone, if you rent a place, and all that. That's the cost that you'll allocate there. Let's for the start off with the same. Let's make a double, 4800 per year. Right, so yeah, that's where we are now. And then profit-wise, you would like to make at least $2,000 profit per year on your work. So for all the work that you put in, you get your salary back, you cover your direct cost, you know, it's thread, needles, all those information that's there. If there's traveling involved that you need to go and pick those things up, you need to add them in. Current annual overheads for the year, that's your overhead cost that you go. Your capital cost, we said that was your machinery. Annual profit, 2,000. So based on this information that we've got in front of us, we have $64,800 per year expenses for our business. But there's 2,000 Rand profit in that as well. Now, our hourly rate has now moved up. We need to basically make, for any job that we do, at least $78.55 per hour. If we do $78.55 per hour, we'll recover our cost. We'll make some profit of $2,000 for the year. And that way we can make some money in the process. So let's go and look now. Is it possible to change certain things, and where can we change things? First of all, if you don't have a Melco machine and you have one of the normal industrial machines, your speed of your machine will not be, industrial-wise, higher than 1,200 stitches per minute. If it's a domestic machine, it can even go down as low as 650. So let's look at the same scenario that we have here. Industrial machine, $15,000 for the purchase price there. Your costing that you need to do is $78.55. So if you do quilting, you should basically charge $78.55 on a quilting machine per hour. If we basically do embroidery, we should basically not charge $78.55. We should charge 71 cents per 1,000 stitches. All right, now let's go and look. We said 5 hours a day. What happens if we change our hours per day from 5 to 7 hours a day? By just changing our hours from 5 hours a day to 7 hours a day, leaving in place, it changed our rate from 71 cents per 1,000 stitches to 51 cents per 1,000 stitches. All right, so it shows you by just changing that, and our hourly rate immediately went down from in the 70s to 56.10 for our hourly rate. So that's our first step. I'm going to go now and say this is the Hangout rate, because referring to this Hangout that we do. Now, the other part that I want to show you here, before we do anything else, if you do on an embroidery machine at 1,200 stitches per minute, with caps, your speed comes down. So your speed comes down to 150. The embroidery that from 51 immediately went up to 94. That means we should do rates. One rate for flat embroidery and one rate for cap embroidery. So when you do work on caps, you call up your cap rate. When you work on flat rate, the rest of the information should be the same. The only part that will change between the two rates will be the embroidery speed of the machine. So let's go back, 1200, that's 51, 50, that's 94. If you have a 1200 machine, but you're only running it at 850, then change it and put it up at 850, because then it'll give you a relative rate. You can charge at any point in time more than this rate. In other words, if you want to charge 85 cents or $1 per 1,000 stitches, that's fine. But please do not charge less, in this scenario, less than 72 cents per 1,000 stitches, because then you would be undercharging yourself, not the client. Client will smile, but you'll be undercharging yourself. In other words, you will not making like the correct amount of money that you should make. All right, let me go and save this Hangout rate. Calculation successful. We save that. You'll see now on the front that we have a Hangout rate that's there. So I can now go and call up. I can have multiple rates for different things that I want to do. You can see there's a rate there. This is massive amount, but it's based in South Africa. I can go and change these rates at any point in time, but it will not allow me to add a new name to it. I can only save it to the existing rate. I can overwrite the existing rate that's there. And I can go and look at flat embroidery and cap embroidery. So that it will save the information for me. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to start off and look at the Hangout rate. Click on the Hangout rate. This is the rate that we've put in, information that we had there. I can now go and say, let's go and change this. I'm going to work at 1,000 stitches per minute. And my charge out rate will be 61 cents. Save that. Always save it before you do anything else. Go back. Next, we're going to go to step number 2. Step number 2 will cover certain things for us. Step number 2, on the left-hand side, we can go and create services. You'll see on the main screen there, we've got services there. Anything that I've add to services will basically pop in here. So if I look at this and I go and look at setting up of an embroidery machine, I've created the setting up of an embroidery machine is there. So I can take setting up of an embroidery machine as a standard service. If I double click on that, it will immediately take that over for me to the list of services that I can use for an invoice. Plus, at this stage, it tells me that my charge out rate is 7.85 per 1,000 stitches, $7.85. That's interesting. No, it's not. It's my digitizing rate. Yeah, my digitizing rate is $7.85 per 1,000 stitches. So if I'm going to go and do a design for somebody, and that would be 10,000 stitches, let's say 10,500. So I'll put in 10 full stop or 560. That's 10,560. I must put that dot in there or the full stop in there because we're working in thousands of stitches. I go and add that. So it's gone and added my design. Now if I go and add my embroidery, 10.56, and I say I'm going to do this on pocket or above pocket. So I'm going to do this above pocket, and I will do it. Yeah, that's fine. Just do it like that on pocket. So that's done. I've now got setup of embroidery machine and the digitizing of a design and the embroidery of that design above a pocket. I'm going to go over now to step number 3. And in step number 3, I'll have to create an invoice. So I can go down and look at my drop down and see who my drop-down customer is. If the customer is not there, I can create a new customer. I can add a new customer there. If the customer is there, I'll click on the customer. and say, so immediately it comes up, it asks me for a subject. The more information I have about my customer, the billing information, the more information will be showed there. But by default, it asks us to put in a name and an email address. That is the two things that we must put in. Subject, I must put a subject in before I can do anything else. So my subject will be create a design of 10,516 stitches. Okay, and then in the description, I'm going to go and say create a design and embroider on, let's say, 120 shirts. Okay, above left breast pocket. Design as per JPG provided. Okay, so now I've got that in there. Setup cost, $28 just to set my machine up for every new job. Okay, digitizing, $82. So there's nothing there. Embroidery, the embroidery I'm going to change now. If I double click on that little block there, it's for 120 shirts, what I'm going to do. Okay, and immediately when I change that, my per design cost is $7.41. My total cost for this job is $1,000.14. I can click on expand totals. I've got an invoice number that I can replace. I can set up my currency for this job. So that's my invoice date is today, the due date. By clicking on it, normally 7 days from now, so that'll be the 27th. And now I can just take this and go and say save. Okay, so I've created an invoice for a client based on the rates that I have. Now, if I go over to clients, you'll see I've got the two clients there. If I click on that client, if I fill all the details in, last name, company name, telephone number, street, city, zip codes, and all that, that information is there, and I can save it, or I can also go and remove a customer. So that's the more information that I've got about my client, the better it is. I can make a list of all my clients I have so far so that they're already on the system. Services. If I look at services, at the top, I have my main service. At the bottom, I have my products inside the service. So if I go and click on CNC, there's nothing there. If I go and click on web development, there's nothing there. If I go and click on basic clothing prices, I have an unlined basic straight skirt there with standard hours of 4. Lined inside pockets 5. Bridal gown 20 hours. So when you add a product here or a service here, you'll add the category for it at the top, and inside that you'll break it down into different segments of that. Adding the category at the top, at the bottom, adding the breakdown. Okay, so that's what we have there. So we're going to go over to invoices. Let's go to invoices. In my invoices, I can see my ID number 6, which was the one that we were looking at. If I move down, I can see that invoice number 2 has been paid. Shows me my graph there. This has already been paid. That one, that one, that one, and that one, still outstanding. If I go to my job that we just created, my invoice for the client, number 6, double click on that, it comes up, it gives me all the information. I can now go and look at the preview of this. Okay, why is it doing that? Let's go and see because I continue. Okay, let's take expand totals off, preview. Interesting. This is interesting. I have to have a look and see why it does it. It's supposed to come up and say Send it. Okay, let me go and say send it. I'll send it to that client. It will go out to my client. And so if I send it, it goes out to the client directly. I can save it, but I'll have to have a look and see why the preview section doesn't work. For some reason, I've got an error with the preview. And that sometimes happens because Windows sometimes updates and sometimes other things happen. So I look at this now and it says at the top, my invoice is not responding for some reason. And I can't tell you why that happens at this point in time. Can I close it? I can close it, but it will close the whole thing. So let's go and close the whole program, close program, and then reopen the program and just carry on from there. As I say, our friend Windows sometimes do things to us that we don't always understand. Okay, go and click it open and go back. We're going to go to invoices. I'm going to go to invoice number 6. And let's see if we can preview it now. Okay, so I still have this error here. It wasn't there a week or so ago. Now it suddenly is there. I'll have to get hold of my developer. Right. We've got invoices, sorted invoices out. Let's go to reports. If I go over from invoices to report, for every have in the system, we'll have a report. And if we go down, same as with invoices, reports, the green, the paid invoices will show green, the others will not show. If I look at this invoice that I have here, invoice number 6, it tells me which company is it. It tells me the total amount for that job. The next information section to me is important, and that is it breaks that amount down for me based on my hourly rates and my rates that I did in calculations into salary. So based on that information that I have in the rates there, it will break it down for me. So from this $1,000 that I have here, $617 should go towards salary. Direct cost, $37 should go to direct cost. Overheads, $74 should go to overheads. And then payment of my capital goods, $240 should go to my capital goods. And my profit on this job is $30. As I said, it all comes back from my calculations that I created right at the beginning. Right, then I'm going to go over to templates. In templates, I've set up my template for my email that will go to my client. And it says at the top, right-click to insert a field. So if I'm inside the content there and I right-click, it gives me all the fields. First name and last name, and this is my invoice information that it sent with my signature and all the other bits that I have there. My invoice at the top has an invoice, my business address. You have sent an invoice so-and-so for the total of that, and it breaks it down. And then at the bottom, I can say, please deposit into my bank account, or please pay me with my PayPal to my PayPal account. There's a T missing. At my, whatever my PayPal email address is that I use. And once that is set up, if the invoice goes out, the invoice that emailed out comes out with this information, the client can pick it up and then pay you according to that. So, as I said, when we started off, it's very small, basic, straightforward software. It's not rocket science. You don't have to be an accountant to operate this. It keeps all your little bits and pieces together. Who's your client? It keeps your services together, keeps your invoices together, and show which ones have been paid, which ones have not been paid. And then if we go over to settings, settings is the last bit, and then settings is your business, so it's your information that goes in there, your email address, SMTP for your server for that email address and the port, and then the login and the password that works with that email account. So once you've set that up there, And I think that was one of the reasons why that invoice gave us a problem. I wanted to send the invoice out, but information was not here. So let me go and put some information in there. .com, and I think the port by default is SMTP. That would be 110, and the port there would be mail dot. No, I think it's the wrong way around. I've just added the wrong way around. Let me just X that out there. It should go there, and that should be 110. Okay, and then the login, the username, and the password for that email account, you set that up. Okay, you'll see there's no save button. So immediately if I've done that, I've closed and I've captured that, I'm going to close the screen just to show you that it actually does record everything. Go to Stitch for Profit, go over to settings, and it didn't record it. Okay, that is not good. Okay, and I think I'm going to stop here because somehow I have a problem with my program on this side. So that's a problem there. The software is $47, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just go and double check, and I'm going to open the page for you. Let's go and have a look and see. I'll take you over to the site where you can buy the software if you want to buy it. I will get all of the developer today and see if we can sort that two glitches out that we've picked up there and where they came from. So the site where it's available is called Price for Profit, PRICE, the figure 4, profit, PROFIT.co.za, whatever you call it. And the price is $47.50 at this stage for the software that will do the calculations for you. So that's just a quick, let me just minimize the screen here and we go back. So settings at the back. So if we go back and then summarize what we've done so far, calculations at the front, we went and created a rate for us. So we've got our rate there. We've got our annual salary that we would like from our embroidery business or our stitch out business or our crafts business. Our direct estimate cost, because it's an estimate that we put in there, we can change it at any point in time. If you're going to do quilts and make quilts and you're going to supply the fabric, then that direct cost will be definitely higher. The current annual overheads that you have in dollars. So what is your overhead cost that you have? And then capital goods that is involved, the purchase of a machine. And like we said in the beginning, we went and did the check what the capital cost was then. And your annual profit. So if I now go and change this annual profit to $4,000 a year instead of $2,000, my embroidery rate has changed slightly. And I go and say and save that. And if I go to my invoice now, not to my invoice, to my reports now, and I go and look at that specific report that I have there, you'll see that my tariffs here has not changed because it used this tariff here based on the previous rate that I used. So when this invoice was created, at that point in time, it used the calculation rates that was involved to calculate this. So it's not if you go and change your calculation rates at any point in time in future, that it will go and change any of your previous invoice totals or any of your previous report totals for you. But based on this calculations from the front and the columns that you have here all tie back to what your calculations is. Sort that out. Okay. So in short, that is what the software can do for you. Now, based on this info that we have here, I'm going to just jump over from here to the enterprise version. So if you have somebody that's working but not in the embroidery field, but in any other field, you'll see that when you look at this, you'll see, oh, I've got exactly all those rates are still there. I'm going to open this rate for you as well, and you'll see the only thing that's missing here in the enterprise version. Where did you go now? Things happen. Let's see what happens. Okay, thank you. Enterprise for profit. Thank you very much. Okay. All the other information in that rate is still there. The only thing that's missing is the embroidery part. So the embroidery part is missing. And if I go from there to reports, it got all the other bits and pieces for me there. Clients, the same clients. So you can actually from one computer run both pieces of the software, the enterprise as well as the Stitch for Profit software. Enterprise section only ignores the rate part, and you work with your, the stitch per 1,000 stitches part, and you work with your hourly rate. So any place where you'll work with an hourly rate, you will use the enterprise software. Where you'll work with stitches in the embroidery side, you'll work with a section on the right side. So if you're going to do dressmaking, you'll use the enterprise rate or the enterprise section of the software. If you use quilting, you can use the enterprise section of the software. If you do candle making or crafts or making furniture or welding, security doors and windows and gates and whatever the story is, you'll use the enterprise section of the software and not the stitching section of the software, because you will charge, your charge out rate will be based on what is calculated here, the $57.84 per hour. Okay, I think that is in short. I know I said that set the course out to be longer than half an hour, but I made provision for if there was any questions. And at this stage, there's not a lot of questions, and we've picked up that there was two small glitches. The one was on the invoices side. If I call it up and I ask for a preview, it gives me an error, which it shouldn't do. And that I'll sort out with my developer. And the other part was it wasn't saving all the information directly at the back in the settings screen. So I will also send a copy of this this video to my developer so that he can just have a look and see what's what and fix that problem for me and send the correct ones back. I thank you for the time that you've spent with me. And the last part, again, for in case you are looking at investing in software that will help you make more profit from your embroidery or your crafts, go to the website. The website, you'll see if you open it up, it's got this embroidery designs at the top. I'm going to repeat the website's address, priceforprofit.co.za. So it's PRICE, the numeric value 4, PROFIT.co.za. And then just scroll down, I see that the price is listed here. We normally do courses, which is a 4-day course, and it's the cost for everything and is about $179 for the 4 days. We cover everything in detail and help every person to sort his price out. At this stage, you can acquire the software. There's still 2 left at $47.50, and I think after every 2 that's sold, the price will go up. So that's the information that I can show you there. You can just scroll down and read about what the software does. There's also a short video of what the software does for you. What I can tell you is if you apply the software to your business, you will make more money that you are making now, or more, you'll be more profitable than what you are at this point in time. I thank you very much, and I will be available. You can leave me some messages on my Google Plus, the Hangouts there. If there's any questions, then leave it for me, and I'll get back to you, and I'll answer the questions for you. Thank you.